Welcome to the Grow Your Practice podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Chad Madden, owner of Madden Physical Therapy and Breakthrough. Join me each week as we dive into the best practices, systems, principles, tips, and tricks to help you grow your private practice. Hey everybody, Chad Madden here with the Grow Your Practice podcast, and today we have a very special guest, one of my favorite people ever to talk with, let alone practice owners, but our guest today is Bill Whiteford. Bill is joining us from his home in Virginia, and Bill is, I believe, a 4 decades of experience in private practice, quite a story, always gold nuggets that come out of our conversation, so welcome to the call here, Bill.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. So, Bill, you have a pretty big list of diverse interests. I know we're going to get into piloting airplanes and some other stuff that you do, but how'd you get started in physical therapy and ultimately open up your own private practice?
Well, I've been in practice 45 years. It's amazing when I say that word. And I actually got into physical therapy. I was a biology major, and I got drafted by good old Uncle Sam to go to Vietnam. And it wasn't a problem. I knew at that point in time, my class was the last one that got drafted, and I'd already had my pilot certificate. You talked about flying airplanes, and so uh, I went in. You could choose to put off your duty, and so we knew that the Vietnam War at that point in time, back in the late '60s, was not a very good thing. They're never a good thing. But I figured if I could be in the air, I'd be a lot safer. And so I joined Air Force ROTC, and actually had a contract that told me that I was going to be a flyboy, if you will. And during all of that time, it was pretty hard. I enjoyed biology, but I really wanted to fly. And basically, when it came time for me to get out of school, or during that period of time, NOM was calming down. They didn't need pilots. I had to figure out what I was going to do. And so I literally looked, I thought about being I lived on the East Coast in North Carolina. So I really enjoyed coastal marine science, and really was tampering with marine biology, but you had to be on the boat with Jacques Cousteau if you're going to have a living. And, that wasn't going to happen. And so I literally started looking through a course catalog and picked out a profession that did not require a foreign language. And so, and I'm like, what, physical therapy, what is that? Because nobody knew what it was 45 years ago. And I went, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. And it just absolutely was the mark. I've never turned back since. Been very fortunate to do what I do.
That's great. So eventually you and I believe your wife was involved in the beginning as well, right? You opened
Correct.
up Appalachian Physical Therapy. So how did that come to be?
Yeah, we like everybody else, I went and worked in a hospital. Actually, I had to talk a county hospital into hiring me as their first physical therapist. They had no idea what a physical therapist was. And worked with them, started working with larger hospitals, and then in 1985 joined up with three other people for private practice. And at that point in time, we had a couple of offices. We did some home health, work, and skilled nursing facilities, working with schools. We had about 6 or 7 physical therapists that started with us, and in a year, we had 40 PTs working for us in North Carolina. And it was just, you talk about growth. It was great, but it was terrible. And I would, we were going to rotate through. I was the guy that could go out and set up the practices and meet with everybody. One of the other PTs, the main ones, had been a college professor at PT school, so had all the contacts, and the other one was more of a business person, and we were going to kind of rotate through so we could cross train everybody. Well, it just didn't work that way. And I actually bought a house in April of that year, and between April and November, spent 2 nights in it. And I would come through and wash clothes and whatever, but oh my gosh, it was tough, and I just finally decided, hey, you know what? This is killing me. We had a I was in North Carolina at the time, and we had I opened up a practice in Southwest Virginia, and I knew that I was going to need to have another physical therapist. Had met my wife at a Stanley Paris course, and basically at that point in time said, "Hey, let's do this." And these guys bought me out, and the rest is history, and never looked back.
Nice. So, and you said you met your wife at a Stanley Paris course?
I did.
Yeah, huge fan uh, with the manual therapy background. So you opened up, and that was in the late '80s, early
That
'90s.
was 86.
Okay, so mid '80s. Awesome. And that was Appalachian PT.
That was Appalachian Physical Therapy. Yep.
Great. I like your pronunciation a lot better than mine. That's your Appalachian. Got it. And I know right now you have a couple partners, and I want to ask you about that because you've mentioned legacy in the past. But before we get into that, are there any other big lessons that you learned with that first with the North Carolina experience in private practice? Because that growth is very, very rapid growth, and I know infrastructure usually breaks down
Oh, it
when
was
that
just
happens.
phenomenal. It's all about communication and trying to handle it and finding PTs and basically what ended up happening to that company, they continued to be able to meet a marginal need of all of those people, and today that company no longer exists, and there's the and it probably went on for a little while, but it just got down. Nobody wanted to work that hard. Nobody could work that hard. I mean, it was just killing us. And so they probably went back down to maybe I'm going to say maybe 8 or 10 PTs or whatever, and carried those contracts for a while. And then I've kind of lost contact with them, and so I don't know what they're doing today.
Fair enough. So you and your wife open up the new clinic in you said Southern Virginia, right?
Southwest Virginia.
Southwest Virginia, and it was at Harrisonburg, the first office.
No, that was actually in a little place called Pennington Gap, Virginia. It's in the very western county of Virginia. It's very um, depressed. I mean, it really is. But the people there, it was all about people. We actually had people bringing us hams and chickens to pay for their treatment,
Yeah.
and it'd be great if we could live like that. But that doesn't last long in a bank vault. The bank doesn't appreciate that. If we were really going to invest in that area monetarily and with any kind of real estate or offices, that we probably would never get our value back out of that. And so we basically started looking at that point in time to stay in Virginia to be able to find something that gave us the same amenities, being close to a large city within a couple of hours, with a university where we could continue our education, be in the mountains, not too far from the coast, and then kind of between my wife's from the Detroit area, God bless her, and then I'm from North Carolina, so looking for all those amenities. And we actually went up to Harrisburg and all the way up into Pennsylvania, all the way down to Georgia, staying in the Appalachian chain, looking for places to open up a practice. And so we actually, opened our practice in Southwest Virginia, and then we opened again a year later, starting all over again in a place where absolutely nobody knew us.
What was
Pretty
that like?
Oh, that was, I mean, you have to do a lot of homework, and you have to be smart enough or dumb enough to figure out that uh, quitting is not in your vocabulary. And at that point in time, it's all about perseverance. And I can remember when we finally got our first reimbursement. We didn't have we just started with computers back in 1985, 86, and we went with a computer billing program and all this stuff. Um, And I can remember getting our first reimbursement from a insurance company. It was like $44.10, and we were high fiving everybody, doing, and we were like, "Yeah, this is absolutely great, whatever." But the cool part about it was, is we figured it out. We had the guts to persevere and be able to figure out and know how to do this, and it was like, yeah, we're gonna wade through this.
That's great. So, 86, Southwest Virginia, you moved the clinic about a year later.
We moved it to we in 1987. We moved here to Harrisonburg, Virginia, and then we've been here ever since.
Great. And so, update to today, you have about 4 locations. I think
We did.
exactly four.
We've had as many as six. We sold a couple of those. We've had some people that wanted to for them to help us go into private practice, and we did that with a couple of them. In that process, we've had people that have come in like every entity has, and then spin out and open up their own place, and then we figure out, okay, we need some ways to be able to handle that so that we don't keep putting people in private practices without having them, be a part of us. And so now we have four. We have one in Harrisonburg. We have one in Broadway, Virginia, which is about 15 miles north of Harrisonburg. We just opened one up in Strasburg, Virginia, which is about 25 or 30 miles north of Broadway, up near Winchester. And then we have one in Pinehurst, North Carolina.
Great. And how far away is Pinehurst?
Pinehurst is an hour flight
Oh,
or a 5-hour drive.
yeah, that's a pretty big gap and a neat story. And you get to fly there, right? Which,
Oh,
which
yeah,
is even more convenient.
absolutely.
Great. Um, with so having and I think it's Jonathan and Adam are the partners, and Israel
John
part.
and Adam. John is the partner in Pinehurst. Adam uh, has bought into the Harrisonburg and Broadway office, and Dave Brewster is a part owner in our Strasburg office.
Great. So as you reflect on your private practice career and you have the partners coming along, and again, that I can't get away from that word legacy that you talked about before. How do you think about that? Because I know many owners that are just like, hey, I'll take the lump sum cash payment and go sit under the mango tree, and that doesn't seem to be part of your vocabulary at all.
Well, I mean, when we met that first day, I'm just like, it doesn't take us far to look or long to look out in our healthcare system and see that it's not really headed in a very good way. And you know, people when they come into our practice, and I'm sure yours and other people that are really trying to make a difference, if they've been to other places that are run specifically by people that are look. I mean, don't get me wrong, you got to have the bottom line, but that are focusing on the bottom line and not putting forth the effort to really do a great job. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out, hey, there's a world of difference here. And so, I mean, this profession has been so good to me, and it's been such a great fit for my wife and I. We have a daughter who, is a physical therapist and is actually coming from uh, a, a corporate office in North Carolina, and is joining us because she sees the big difference. She worked with us right out of school, but you know the grass is always greener, and she's a great kid. And working for your parents, I'm sure that have been in practice for 30 years is not always the easiest thing. And so she had to go out and figure it out, and we had to figure out how much we really needed her, and we worked it out. So she's starting in Pinehurst, but it's physical therapy. Uh, I have a belief, and that I believe strongly this way, that we are absolutely the best people in the medical field to be able to take care of a neuromusculoskeletal problem, hands down. And not in just the way that we were able to use our skills and work with people, but to problem solve, to help them, to empower them to to take care of their problem. And the cost factor for us is so much less than what it is for health for MRIs and all this stuff. It's terrible. And I'm all about empowering our patients to be involved in their own health care. And with that, I want to be able to bring up my guys and gals, train them to be the best that they can do to carry that forth in a great way. There's lots of ways to make money today, but you know what? I'm one of the richest guys in the world. I sleep so good at night because I know that I'm trying to treat people the way that I want to be treated. And I'm trying to put that forth with my guys. We've got people that work for us that have the same idea. And I just want to help them be able to do this bigger, better, if they want to get bigger, but better and not have as many pitfalls that I've already had.
Okay, great. So love, and I know just from talking with John and Adam here in Harrisburg and at a few events as well, they're on the same page. So uh, love your passion there. I can give you a couple updates. Since you and I first met, I know that I believe this year our national healthcare expenditure per person will go over $12,000 per year. That is an insurance. That is the cost of healthcare. And it was funny just at lunch here a few minutes ago. I was having lunch with two friends, and they're both retired, going through orthopedic issues, and they've were talking shop with me, and the Mary, we'll call her Mary. She said, "Hey, by the way, I was talking with one of your therapists, and she actually recommended I talk with my podiatrist about getting an orthotic, and here's why." And the other gentleman that was sitting there, who just got done telling me about an orthopedic procedure he was going to have that is about a $40,000 procedure, said, "Don't do orthotics; they cost too much money." And I said, "You're talking like $200 or $300. It's not even with us. We sent her back to the podiatrist." And I said, how imbalanced are we? And we've been doing this for so long as a country, where we opt for, $114,000 spinal fusion versus $1,200 in PT. That doesn't, for the same outcome, it doesn't, or
Yeah.
even a better outcome, doesn't make sense. So I know you're passionate about that. My curiosity is with your team, and you alluded to building a culture that believed in the vision, believed in terms of, we call it flipping the pyramid, but you know, re- correcting the sick healthcare system that is in place right now. How did you find those on your leadership team and those that are within your company? What is it you look for? How did you do that?
Yeah, they're very hard to find because they've been indoctrinated their whole life of I've got here make this amount of money. I got to, I'm now a doctor of physical therapy, and I just read a good book. I suggest it to you. I know you're a reader. There's a guy out there by the name of he's a retired four-star admiral, William McRaven, and he just wrote a book. His third book. It's called The Hero Code, and he alludes to he's a 36 or 37-year veteran. He's the guy that's been in charge of the Special Forces SEAL teams all over the world, and he's a SEAL himself. And so it's basically a synopsis of the different attributes that you see in people that are the real world heroes. And it goes through humility and courage and perseverance and all these guys. There's 10 of them. But if I could say what I look for, uh, I'm looking for somebody. I always look for somebody who knows who they are and has some purpose in their life, some faith, some realization that it's not all about them, and very humble, intelligent, and someone who wants to make a difference. And you give me those attributes for somebody, holy smokes, I can knock down any barrier in the world because they see that it's not about them, it's about the person that comes in that door. And oh, by the way, we're not dislocating our shoulders by patting ourselves on the back. Yeah, you'll get accolades, but your accolades come from the people that you serve and not from yourself. And People that want to leave the world a better place. We're all intelligent. We wouldn't get through the school where we were, but there's a select few of people out there that really have the right mindset. You get the wrong person in there, they can be a great PT, but if they don't have that mindset, you're just going to kill them by putting stuff on there. It's not going to work. And so Adam came to us. We noticed, my wife and I have been very active in our state and national associations. I've been the past president for the Virginia Physical Therapy Association, and I don't know, 98 to 202. Colleen's been, on the executive board as secretary and whatever several years. But we actually had a meeting at our one of our offices. I guess it was 10 years ago or so, and Adam came as a student, dressed up in a tie and whatever, and I'm like, check this kid out. And he was going to Liberty University, he was in their inaugural class, and just kind of talked with Adam, a New York kid, God bless him, but really had those. He had a hunger for learning and a hunger to be able to work and treat people. I'm just like, oh my gosh! And so we just kind of put our focus on him, and he came to work with us right out of school, and we nabbed him up. And Adam is a great clinician. It's like anybody else. It's a learning process to be a leader, but you got to have those attributes to be able to mold them and form them. And so Adam definitely has the the vision of treating people and understanding why he's there. John came to work with us. He's from my alma mater, East Carolina, in Greenville, North Carolina, and John worked with us for a couple of years, and then went to South Carolina to work with a couple of another buddy of his that uh, was someone I think that graduated with him but got down there and found out a few things about his buddy that he didn't really like. And I got word he's from the Pinehurst area. I got word that he was coming back to Pinehurst to set up a private practice. And oh, by the way, he took my office manager with him when he left, so I lost two. They ended up getting married, and so they came back. And I heard they were coming back. I talked with John because I knew John's heart. He had worked with us, and I knew that he had a vision as well, like Adam. And I just contacted him. I said, John, why do you want to set up a private practice? Well, I want to be in private practice. I want to help people. I said, John, hello. I said, how much money do you think it's going to cost you to go in and set up a private practice? I said, $250,000 maybe. And I said, maybe. And I said, then that's no guarantee. I said, why don't you come and join us? And I said, you've already worked for us. You know our ideals. I said, I already know you. I already know that you're the kind of person that I'm working with. Come and join our practice as an owner. And I said, spend the money with us in a practice that's already doing well. And that's what he did. And he brought my office manager back with him. Ha ha. and so we had two people right there. And then Dave Brewster, who is in Strasbourg. Dave was a student of ours. Oh my gosh, 25 years ago or so, we worked with from Shenandoah University. And and Dave's been active in the association. We've known him for forever, and we've gone back and forth. And Dave has been after me for years to have him. He wanted to open up a practice up where he lives, and I went, Dave, I really do not want to do that. And it's just you know, and I mean, I had enough to do. I was really, really busy, but I also know if you're not growing, you're dying, and you have to meet the need, but it's got to be done in a good way. And so finally, even in a COVID year, we opened up last year. I felt that we had enough ability to um, be able to push people towards us that Dave finally wore me down. It's scriptural. You beat on your neighbor's door, your neighbor's door at 9 o'clock at night, give me some bread. And it's like, go away. my kids, everybody's in bed. And Dave just finally kept banging on my door. And I'm like, okay, Dave, what do you want? And I've known Dave for a long time, and it's been a good, it's, Dave's a good guy, same type of deal. So, we opened up the practice in October of last year. And so Dave is, like a 49% owner in that business there.
That's great. And I know he got off to a super fast start too, correct?
He did. You know, when we opened up our Harrisonburg office, probably 5 or 6 years. Well, we moved, we changed locations, and but anyway, when we opened up the area where we are now, it took a little while. But we had a little time in Harris. We moved one of our offices from Harrisonburg to Broadway, and then I mean not to Broadway, but to Bridgewater, and came back. But we have some expenses obviously, and with and we had to have those, especially in a COVID year, of marketing, getting things out there, driving people in. And so he's at a point now where we've been open 6 or 7 months, where he's right at a line of not quite breaking even, but almost. But he would have never been at we would have never. In fact, I was just talking to Adam and John the other day about this. Um, Most everybody else would have been folded by now, and where we are with that opening. Even though Dave worked up in that area, and this is where it comes, Chad, with some of the stuff that you're talking about. You got to find the right person. It's not about putting anybody in there. They can be a good person, but you got to put somebody in there that that is that's with the culture up there, that knows the people up there. And he's been working up there for 20 years or more, all of his life. Unfortunately, he's been working with a large corporation, a large hospital setting. And, he was under the impression, well, all these docs have known me for all this time. When I get out, they're going to send it to me. I went, nada. It's not going to happen. I don't care how good you are. And he was totally shocked. And I'm like, Dave, don't take it personally. I said, they know who butters their bread. And I said, it's not going to happen. And every referral that we have gotten, or every person that's come in direct access, I should say, or whatever, has been there because of our doing. And I would say in 7 months, we've had less than a handful of people that have actually been sent to us by a physician.
Yeah. So you're doing the marketing. You brought marketing up there, and I have some questions for you about that, for sure. The other thing that I heard you say there, Bill, is it's important to match not just the integrity, like McCraven talks about it, with the 10 characteristics in the hero code. By the way, I'll get that book for sure. Love stuff like that. Thanks for the recommendation.
Mhm.
But you also have to match the person with the culture of the area. That
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
I agree with you. We even in our own clinics that are only maybe 20-minute drive away, we they're just different cultures, and we have to match that, or it doesn't go as well as it could, for
Correct.
sure. So I want to ask you about marketing. You talked about going direct to the consumer. I'm guessing when you opened in 1986, 100% of your business coming through was physician referral.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we did all the stupid stuff that you did back then, of going in and meeting with the physicians and bringing them lunch, and doing all of this stuff. And back then, physicians owned their own practices, and I think a lot of them, and it's good. I'm not knocking them, but today it's a totally different world. But 95% of what we got, 100% of what we got back then was from physicians. That's the only way we got them.
Yeah. So about I think it's been 9, 10, maybe 11 years now. You started marketing direct to the consumer. I know that you were working with Neil and his team, Neil Trickett and his team at Practice Promotions, doing some things there. When when you started looking at marketing direct to the consumer, what made you do that?
Well, I just got fed up of. I told you that I've been active in our association for years, and just like with physical therapy, uh, I get I got I was down at the in Richmond, and also up at our national capital because we're close to DC. Virginia is. I was did so much lobbying when I was president that in those two areas I had to get a lobbyist license, and so I saw the good and the bad. I would go into a state senator or a federal senator or representative and just tell them the facts. This is why you really need to pay attention to this. And they would not even hesitate. They said, "Did you see that guy that just walked out here before you?" And I'm going, "Yeah." They belong to the ortho, National Orthopedic Society or the National Chiropractic Society. They just gave me $100,000 check. And
Oh
so,
my
I
gosh.
mean, they would just come. And so, if you're not even going to come up to the plate with that, there's no reason for you even to talk to me about it. I
Wow.
can't, I can't tell you how many times I've had this, and that's when you almost have a heart attack or a stroke because of it's just not right. It's totally not right. I mean, I don't even have to go there, and so it's the same thing with physicians. It's the same thing with it doesn't have to be that way, but I've had physicians even in the last 6 months call my office from Centera, who is a large hospital corporation, and tell them that they're not going to support that patient if they come to me for physical therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and the person comes to me, and I'm going, and so tell me why you want to have this guy for your physician again? Is he really concerned about your health care? And some of these older folks are like, they get hung in the middle. And so, I think results should speak for themselves. And long ago, 20 years ago, Colleen and I started, probably longer than that, probably within about 5 years, 6 years after starting our own practice, we started doing, and we talked about this, started doing seminars, and we started doing our own seminars, and we would send out newsletters. We made our own newsletter. In fact, we got one of the first color printers there was out there, and it wasn't all at once. You had either a black cartridge, or you had a red cartridge, or you had a green, and you had to interchange them. And so if we wanted to send out something like a Christmas newsletter and we wanted to have green and red and yellow and black, like for holly decorations, we would have to put it all in black, and we would reload it, put the red in, and we would and hope that it all lined up well. I can remember doing that, but we were marketing to people, we were marketing to the public, and doing seminars. And even before, even before going with Growth X, we've had as many as 70 people before at a seminar, and we would have people come in. We were doing screenings and have them coming in or whatever. So you know, once we once we kind of fell in and started looking like, hey, we don't, we can now build on this with marketing with different types of media and having a larger people take care of all of this for us. We just got to give the seminar. It was just so natural for us to be able to come in here. It wasn't even a I was absolutely sold before I even got there.
That's great. So, for everybody that's listening to this, if you're not part of Breakthrough, GrowthX is the marketing platform that we have that helps owners go direct to the consumer. Uh, Bill, you mentioned seminars. I've heard them called workshops or webinars if they're online. Lots of other names. But yeah, two quick things for you. One is I found a reference to a physician. There's a female physician in New York City doing workshops back in the 1860s or 1870s.
Wow.
So that I'm trying to understand more what and why she was doing that. I believe it was the AMA or the predecessor to the AMA at the time. They did not allow physicians to market, but she figured out if she would host lectures, I think is what she called them, on a
Mhm.
specific diagnosis, that then she would attract patients, and she went on to a fairly uh, notable career. She attracted patients and was able to achieve that. Obviously, not 7 million people living in New York City back in 1860 or 1870. The other one was I stumbled upon some research. This came from Michael Gerger, who's a physician, MD, author of How Not to Die. And he actually shared research that is in peer reviewed physician journals. So this would be like Lancet or JAMA, uh,
Right.
some sort of equivalent where they track physician referrals based on financial incentive. And you're not going to believe this, but financial incentives influence what physicians do with their
Oh,
patients.
really? Really?
So-
Let me pick myself up from the floor here.
but when he shared this information, it was around heart stents, and here's the research. This is what uh, physicians and hospitals are still recommending based on this research, and it's insane. Why are they doing that? Because of financial incentive. But I couldn't believe that. So there might be harmful influence within our physician referrals there. And the other thing I heard you say, at least back into 1998 to 2002, is there might be some bribery or corruption in government, which I can't believe.
We get and here's yeah, here's the hard thing. I mean, and this is where it comes back to getting the right person. We're all on the same team. We should be.
Yep.
We're all on the same team. We're gonna live and die and breathe and pay taxes on this earth until we die. And it should always be about the patient. It should always be about the person who needs the care. And unfortunately, it's not that way. And so, you know, uh, this is a physics lesson. For every force that you push forward with, you have people pushing back at you. And I actually had, I mean, it doesn't feel good, but I've come to realize if I don't have somebody slinging arrows at me or throwing rocks at me, I am not going down the right path. And so I fully expect it because I'm not bad mouthing anybody, but I mean, I've got, when I do my shoulder seminar or my hip seminar, there's some pretty damning facts out there about how MRIs are being used and how they are there's nothing wrong with an MRI. It's an innate test, but it's how they're being used and to coerce, and people when they come in to see their physician, uh, they're not talking to their physician. They're talking to a freaking computer. The physician's doing the computer deal and looking at computer generated questions and asking them, and they're not even. It could be their daughter in there they're talking to. They have no idea. And then instead of putting their hands on them, I don't need to tell you this. They just, oh, we're just going to go to an MRI. Oh, MRI says you got this. Schedule for surgery.
Yeah.
Uh, Cow dung. I'll just say it nice. That's ridiculous. And so I don't. I am. There's a country song. I like country songs. There's a country song that comes out and says, "How old am I? I'm old enough now to know when and when not to give a damn. That's how old I am." And so I'm old more. I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm going to. I don't care if you sling arrows at me. I just really don't care. I sleep very good at night. I've had a surgeon from Charlottesville, Virginia, a teaching hospital, call me up and ask me when I was doing some fascial manipulation stuff of what kind of witch doctory was I doing. And I said, you know what? I am so happy that you called me today. I said, because it tells me that I'm absolutely doing the right thing. For you to take a surgeon's time to call me up and talk with me about this, I said, I think it's great. What else would you like to talk about today? He just hung up.
I hope that patient canceled their surgery. I hope that's what had happened. That's great.
And don't, I don't want anybody to go out of here thinking that I'm totally against medicine. The absolutely opposite. I love working with anybody that loves working with people that is focused on what their problem is. And I think the vast majority of people have that intention. Uh, but I think as you talked earlier about, it's so easy to fall into this world of having alternative things get a hold of you and things can kind of go awry. And I don't like working with insurance companies and I don't like having to do all this other stuff. But if you're going to stay in private practice in medicine or in physical therapy or anything, you better figure out how to do all of that because if you don't, then then the siren song is going to take a hold of you and you're going to sell everything. And now you're going to be working for a large corporation and it's all going to go bad quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very solvable. Definitely more challenging. The level of competency needed to stay in business is definitely increasing dramatically over the last couple of years with all the competition. The the other thing that I wanted to say, Bill, that I wrote down here is I always view it as unnecessary. So yes, there are people that need surgery. If I ever have a labral tear or something, absolutely there are times when surgery is required. There are times when diagnostic imaging is required. Are there's an appropriate use of injections. Same thing with medications. However, all numbers, the second we start looking at data for the country, kind of says there's a lot of unnecessary stuff going on. And I don't think it's physical therapy. We're at the bottom of the
Not
totem
even
pole.
close.
Right.
Yeah.
We're at the bottom of the totem pole. I know most physical therapists feel guilty every time they're asking for an extra, 3 visits from an insurance company, but we're not the problem. The problem is, like you said, it's if you throw asymptomatic people on an MRI machine, a large percentage of them, more than half, will have some sort of disc issue in their
Oh
lower
yeah,
back.
absolutely.
So why are we relying on that as the only?
Well, and I don't really have a problem with that. Uh, if they would actually put their hands on people and clinically correlate it. Personally, I feel you could put your hands on people first and be able to get the same amount of information if they would do that without all of that big cost. And then if it was like, there's something fishy going on here,
Yeah,
now let's go get that. But we are we absolutely give the best bang for the buck
yeah,
without a doubt. And I have people that aren't real happy with me when I tell people in my seminar that here's some studies. This is what's going on. I had a guy that just came in. I did a seminar Wednesday night on rotator cuffs, and he sent me an email. He says, "Man, I want to thank you so much. I just called my doc and canceled my MRI." I went, "Holy crap! Here we go again." and
love it.
and I'm just like, here we go. I'll probably hear from this guy, but he's coming in through direct access and coming in to see us. And
Nice.
I'm just like, you know what? And I tell everybody, please don't go out of here saying that MRIs are bad. They are not bad. MRIs are great when you need them. We should be able to lessen the amount that we need them by using our brains and our hands. That's all I'm saying.
Perfect. Sounds spot on to me. The one thing that you talked about is recovering from the pandemic. Are you above now pre-pandemic numbers in your
We
recovery
grew
office?
10% last year.
That's crazy.
And I mean, you know, we had loaded up with some PTs. We had some more expenses and stuff, but uh, we're already at our highest point ever the last couple of months that we've ever been, and we're a little PT. I mean, we're a little heavy with some, but we've got two PTs that are coming in. We're dying as far as having to put people out and whatever, and so I project. Well, I back up. Last year, we were January of last year, we were 50 or 60% better than the year before. February, the same thing. March, we went down maybe to 40%, and then we just bottomed out like everybody else did.
Mhm.
We brought it back up in the summer and then the fall, kind of, but we ended up growing, 10% this year. Our hopes last year was 50% this year because we're still not quite where we'd like to be, but I'm going to project we're going to be probably in the 30% range or better this year.
That's amazing. That's great. Awesome. You talked about a lot there, direct to consumer marketing and direct access, how that's come along. We threw a little couple tomatoes at the hospital system and maybe the government in there too. During the course of your career, looking at decades, are there any other, like, what are the biggest learnings? If I was a fly on the wall, you're talking with John and Adam, uh, or Dave, what are some of the other things that you're really trying to impart on them, if you don't mind
Well,
sharing?
you need to be, again, you need to be consumer oriented. You have to be consumer oriented. You have to let people know that you're going to go the mile for them. I mean, that's why we're here. You can, I don't need to tell you, but I will say it. Physical therapy is not physical therapy. Is not physical therapy. It's not like going and buying a good sirloin here and going over here and buying a sirloin. It's service and so it's not that you're putting other people down. It's not even that you're building yourselves up. It's that you're showing people that you truly care about them. And if that means like yesterday at 3:30, well, I would say probably 2:30, I had a past patient of ours, and I was loaded up yesterday afternoon, as well as all of my staff called in at 2:30, and I've just got horrible vertigo. I can't even hardly stand up. I've had it for a week. I've gone here, I've gone there. Something has got to happen. Can you see me? Absolutely. Why don't you come? Why don't you come in right now and I'll work you in? Well, I've got a doctor's appointment. Blah blah blah. Well, I'm off today, and I said, I will see you in the morning. I said, but I would rather you just come in at the end of the evening if you can come in the evening. I've had this. I know it's bad. Come in. And whereas most hospital settings or even other private practices will go, dude, I get off at 5 o'clock. It's like, you come in and, even if it's 5:30 or whatever, I will treat you tomorrow. I mean, I will treat you today. And so when people know you'll go the extra mile for them and you're focused on those folks, oh my gosh, that made a world of difference for that lady. I'm sure she was not feeling good after she left, but I'm sure today she's a lot better. And so you have to focus on why you're there, and it's for the right reasons. It's because you don't want people to suffer. You don't want people to have some unnecessary surgery. Or if they have to have surgery, you want to make sure that hey, this is the bottom line, and it's just got to be all for the right reasons. And if you find yourself, I have never worked a day in my life. I've gone to work every day of my life, but I've never actually worked because I thoroughly enjoy it. I love being around people. I love helping them, uh, and now I love helping my guys get that burn of this is why we do this. That's where I get. I mean, I love working with people, but I get my burn now when I see Adam going. You know what? Come in at 5 o'clock or whatever. I mean, it has to be more than just a job. It needs to be something that you hold dear to your heart.
That's great. I hear something bigger than yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good. Uh, Bill, we covered a ton of mileage here. Speaking of that, where's the last place you flew to, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, I went down to Texas. Um, every year, my insurance requires that I go to sim training because there's a lot of things you don't want to do in an airplane, like you know lose power at 100 feet off the ground and that kind of thing. And so, we have a multi-engine plane, a twin, and so uh, different things like that are pretty dangerous. And so you go to these sim classes where you're in a simulator, for a couple of days, and they just work you over hard. I mean, it is really hard. It's a dual-edged sword, just like, oh my gosh. I mean, they just beat you up bad, but you come out, pretty confident in whatever that, and things continue to change, just like with physical therapy. And so my wife and I went down our long trip. I mean, I've flown before a little more, since that, but we went down to right a little north of Austin, Texas, for 2 days of sim training, and then we made it into a getaway for 3 or 4 more days. And Texas at that point in time had just released everything, no mask, no nothing, whatever. And we were like, oh man, I don't feel good about this. But, we had just, become fully vaccinated. We felt pretty good about it. I was only going to be in a room with maybe business with 3 or 4 other people, and all of them had been vaccinated. And then, it was warm enough to where we ate at outside venues and whatever. And it was great. So flew down to Austin, probably 4 hours. It was nice.
That's wonderful. And where's your next trip?
I'm actually coming up your way on Thursday of next week, my wife and I are going to go up to Lancaster to Sight and Sound.
Oh, that's about 40 minutes from me. Yeah.
Yes, about 40 minutes from me.
Yeah. That's great. That's wonderful. Hopefully I don't hit traffic. I'm not too worried about you hitting traffic though. That's great. And only because you mentioned Lancaster, the one time I received the barter of an animal that you had mentioned in the beginning with you said chicken or ham,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
right? And it was a horse.
Oh,
Somebody gave me a horse, and that always jumped out. We never did anything with it. The horse stayed on their farm, and it was years later when we actually
too
got
funny. Too funny.
our own horse. But Bill, covered a lot of ground here. I greatly appreciate you sharing. I know you're very busy, as well as a family man, growing the clinics. You covered a lot of ground in terms of going the extra mile that you just covered, the McRaven Hero Code recommendation, talking about the early days of private practice and how that's changed. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for
Sure.
doing this.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Remember to visit getbreakthrough.com to access our free resource library designed specifically for private practice growth. While you're there, make sure you register for a complimentary growth assessment to learn about potential opportunities for growth in your local market. Again, thank you for tuning into the Grow Your Practice podcast and supporting our mission to help people in pain get back to normal naturally.